Nick, good morning. How's it going? This is episode 13 of the Money Clinic. How are you keeping? How has the markets been doing this week?
Yeah, all good here, Conor. Markets have been quite busy. We're still in the early stages of earnings season. We spoke last week about the banks having some blowout numbers. There's some big numbers coming through this week, but at the beginning of the week, the markets have been soft. There's some fears of virus fears again emanating out of Asia. Big sell-off in the Japanese markets for the first couple of days this week, but they've started to recover. So again, people are talking about economic growth and how good things are looking forward.
Very good. Look, the big story that has sort of caught everyone's attention this week it's football related. It's about the European Super League, right? And I'm not going to rehash what's that about. But basically, all of the big clubs are looking to come together, form their own league. And it is a footballing story, but actually it's really a financial story. It's really a money story, because once you lift the bonnet in the Super League, it's all about cash. And JP Morgan have come out and they had basically said that they're going to fund this, they're going to invest in this, they're going to bankroll this. The figures are astronomical. It's like $6 billion that we're talking about. Obviously, we're talking on Thursday, and it's now sort of, the party's over before it even got started. But the whole hypocrisy of the whole conversation, something I'll talk to you about in a wee second, it doesn't sit well with me. But what's your view on the Super League and the money behind it? Was that a natural progression for football?
Well, I think it's something it's very divisive. I think I know you have a contrary view, and we'll talk about that in a few minutes. But football's something that has always been, I don't know, like I'm English, I grew up in England. It's the national sport. It's something that you feel very proud of and very emotive about. And I think we've seen that this week. But you're right, it is about money. Like we've got, or as you go from club to club, you can see that the salaries that are being paid are just astronomical, and they're getting bigger. And we've got Kevin De Bruyne, we spoke about it a couple of weeks ago, using his own analysts to try and prove his own worth. And inflate is the word that I'll use. Maybe it's the level that he should be getting paid, but everybody's always looking for more. And whenever I look at the world of banking and some of these other industries that we've looked at over the last couple of weeks, football's another one. It's very highly sought after from a TV rights perspective. Players are getting paid more and more and more, and the cream are rising to the top. It's a very, the better players will always get paid far more money, and you need income to be able to do that. So, I was involved with Galway United many years ago, and financial fair play first came into the League of Ireland. I think the League of Ireland were the first, or Ireland was the first place where it was actually adopted, and you were effectively, it was a way of imposing a salary cap. But similar to the world of banking, whenever you try to introduce rules and regulations to stop certain types of trading, the banks work out a way around it. And we've seen that with football as well, with Chelsea and Man City over the last couple of years, where they pay people in a different way in order to get around that financial fair play.
Like my view on the Super League, I think I've been surprised at the sort of mass, sort of consistent reaction. Most people don't like it, don't want it. My take is maybe slightly different. I think football's been out of control and salaries at the elite level for such a long time. And we're now talking about the first £1 million a week footballer. Eric Inge Haaland's going to probably move clubs in the next 12 months. The money that's talked about in that to fund and finance that deal is off the scale. So I'm not. I don't really get. And if those top clubs are going to be able to fund the salaries and everything else that comes with that, obviously the current vehicle is not fit for purpose. And I understand then why they were trying to create this new Super League where there's more money and all the rest of it. So, but it's the hypocrisy of multi-millionaire footballers and celebrities coming out in the last week to rubbish it, when for me I just see it as another form of Champions League, and I just didn't really get all of the ridicule that was being pointed at, although it is steeped in greed and money and finance. But that is the money markets, that's the financial markets, that's the way it works. Do you get where I'm coming from?
Yeah, look, I suppose from the time that I started working in banking, that's the way that it's always been. If you're a star trader in a certain organization, everybody else is going to be trying to recruit you and get you into their firm so that you can make money or attract fans or attract trophies that are ultimately going to, down the line, generate more money. So there's a lot of similarities in that regard. I think the difference, and I don't know if it's the right difference, but I think football has always been viewed as a very working class sport. So I think that's why it becomes so emotional, and it's quite broad in terms of the way that it's viewed and loved around the UK in particular. And I think the passion that you've seen in the UK far surpasses anything that you've seen in Spain or other locations.
You see, that's why I think you're a walking contradiction, because you keep saying these things like it's a job for, it's a working class sort of sport. And then the club that you led on, you support, Manchester, it's owned by a sovereign nation. It doesn't stack up. Let's move on.
But we do, just before we leave that subject, we do like to qualify for the Champions League, not buy our way into it.
Yeah, the only good thing that has come out of the Super League discussions this week is that Ed Woodward has resigned, and hopefully,
absolutely, yeah,
the Glazers
long overdue.
Yeah. Right. So moving on, we've only got about 3.5 minutes, but this is a really important topic, and I'm going to have a bit of a rant, and I want your take on this. Basically, I've been in the funding business. We've been doing loans and providing solutions for business for 10 years. And in that 10 years, my observation of the banking world in Ireland, it continues to contract. And that has made it much more difficult for smaller businesses in particular. And I wrote about this in the last week. If you're a big business with a big balance sheet, you'll always be able to raise money. You'll always be able to raise debt or equity. But Ireland is an SME economy. It's a small business economy with entrepreneurs. So the options for business owners over the last 10 years, it's becoming less and less and less. So this current scandal, which is KBC, has decided to exit the market, and they're going to sell their performing loan portfolio, 9 billion, and their €5 billion deposit to Bank of Ireland and the NPL book as well. So what we have in Ireland now is a duopoly of Bank of Ireland and AIB, who pretty much aren't really lending to SMEs. And I think it's a scandal. I think the Irish government need to up their game. I think the Department of Finance need to get involved. And I think the central bank needs to waken up, because I don't see the central bank doing very much, to be honest, about anything in the last couple of years. What's your take on that in a couple of minutes? Like, what are you thinking there around that?
Well, look, I agree with you entirely. And I don't see it changing, to be honest with you. I think, we first got to know each other years ago around the global financial collapse, and Ireland at that time was a landscape. The banking landscape was absolutely bonkers.
Yeah,
people were lending money for absolutely no reason. And one of the phrases that I always remember from that time is that if you walked into a meeting with your bank manager, you more often, and you were a property developer, you walked out with a partner, because the bank manager was also getting involved in the loans and in the company that was being built in order to develop that properties. Markets collapsed, right? And the excess really came home to roost. So I think Ireland at the moment, from a banking perspective, is running scared. And that's why it's constricting or reducing so much. And I think the central bank, through all of the senior people who work in banking, are scared of getting back to that situation, because they messed it up so badly in the past. I mean, nobody messed it up as bad as Ireland.
Why don't we do next week's Money Clinic on some of the solutions and some of the things that the central bank and the Irish government could do to improve the banking landscape? We probably both agree that we don't think they will do it, but I think we should start talking about it at least, because we've loads of alternative lenders. There's lots of new money out there. There's lots of money available. But from a banking perspective, what we have is we've got mortgage banks. And it's very depressing whenever the likes of Bank of Ireland come out in the last 3 months to say we're going to focus on mortgages and car loans. Yeah. Car loans. So I think that's something we should discuss at length next week.
The car loans are probably something they can afford at the moment.
Listen,
leave it there.
10 minutes up, episode 13. Thank you very much. Always great to speak to you. I will catch you again next week.
Take care.